you get into this awkward situation where your code base is highly complex, and it can do a lot of cool things, but you have no idea how any of it works. If you are someone who's non-technical, so not a software developer, and you're trying to learn how to code or trying to build an app, then this video is for you. And in this video, I just want to give an overview of how learning to program has changed over the past year due to the release of the more advanced large language models and the improvement in coding abilities in through Claude 3.5 Sonnet and OpenAI o1. So I think some of the things that haven't changed is one is how the best way to learn how to program is by building projects. So whether it's really really good programmers like George Hotz or John Cormack or any of those programming legends, all of them recommend learning by building projects, right? And I think this is something that non-technical sort of people just starting out would be naturally inclined to do because you don't really know if you enjoy programming yet. So you're doing it because you have some cool app in mind or some kind of problem you're trying to solve, and that's really good. That will keep you motivated and will allow you to learn by being really hands-on and doing. And programming is a lot about doing. And I think what else hasn't changed is what good code looks like. So there's a lot of criteria against which we judge code by. Things like maintainability, uh, reusability, extensibility, correctness, reliability. All of these things define what good code is. And even though AI can help us write code, what we are trying to achieve or what we're trying to get to hasn't really changed. And I also think that good reasoning skills, troubleshooting skills, and logic hasn't changed. So whether you're trying to sort of narrow down what the business idea is or how your program should behave or anything conceptual like that, you have to have a clear understanding yourself first, whether you're writing it manually or through AI. So that's also a skill you have to sort of really develop in your learning process. And something else that hasn't changed, I think, is the sort of non-AI tools that we use, right? So whether it's a programming language or a particular framework, like Next.js or SvelteKit, or a particular library like PyTorch or NumPy or something like that, all of these tools are the same as before AI, right? So how the sort of toolkit we have to build the projects that we want to build hasn't changed despite having AI to help us. However, there are a lot of things that have changed, and I think the most one of the biggest change is in how we plan a project. So uh, it used to be that when you plan a project, you have to sort of have a sort of clear pathway for the technical side of things as well. Like if you are going to code a game in C, for example, then maybe you have to have some sort of plan or some sort of reference for how to write C code, and you have to learn a bit of that first before you can jump into the project. Whereas if you're a non-technical person trying to learn how to build apps nowadays, I feel like it's more important to plan the sort of logic or the high level conceptual ideas of your app first. So if you like, it's almost like prompt engineering, right? Like if you're trying to build an e-commerce app, it's what should each item look like? How you're going to handle pricing. All of these things should be a sort of overall functional requirement, non-functional requirement. You're sort of describing the software without going too much into the technical, right? So you can sort of imagine you're just a business person telling your coder friend what you want to build. And I feel like that's a big shift in how we code using AI. And I think the other big shift is how we write code. Things like syntax and things like that aren't too important because we sort of just prompt the AI and the AI actually does all the code writing for us, right? And this sort of, yeah, like makes things like learning syntax or learning a particular language much less important. And also what has changed is how we debug code, right? So I've heard of a lot of stories of people that just copy a huge chunks of their code into some AI, ask it to fix it, and it actually does it. So I feel like these are all things that have changed in terms of how we write code nowadays. And I think what's really interesting is that we want to avoid becoming tutorial coders, right? So even before AI, tutorial coders have existed, and what it is someone who just watches like a 2 hour tutorial and they sort of copy the code line by line from the YouTube video, and then at the end they have completed the project, but have learned nothing, right? So we have to actually learn what's happening even if the AI is coding it. Like if the AI uses something like a function, or if the AI is using concurrency or parallelism, all of these higher level core programming concepts, still have to learn because it kind of goes back to how we debug. Sometimes AI is not able to debug a really complex problem, right? Um, and you get into this awkward situation where your code base is highly complex and it can do a lot of cool things, but you have no idea how any of it works. And uh, once you take away the AI training wheels, then you're just you're just stuck with a bunch of code that you have no idea what to do with, right? So to that point, I think AI is kind of like an Iron Man suit, right? So if you can give it to anyone, and they can probably blast a few villains away, but you really have to sort of understand it, be able to repair it, or like fix it when it goes wrong, and you have to be trained to use it, right? It's a very powerful tool, but it cannot substitute, uh, you know, a very clear, logical person behind the wheel, you know. So, hope you enjoyed this video.